What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Drew Kubler here with your September Unpacking with the Pros video. We're back for another month. It's September, it's fall, finally here. So, football season started, deer season started for a lot of us, keeping a couple of anglers off the water. But we're excited. We're back. We've got another great box coming your way. 6 baits this month. So, before we start, if you're not already a subscriber, head on over to MLFChampionsClub.com, sign up $29.99 a month, and we're going to send you some premium baits every month. We do giveaways, exclusive content, webinars, whatever you want. We're going to send it your way, guys. Great deal. So let's go ahead and dive on into our 3 discount codes this month before we talk about the baits. So first off, we've got 25% off at Black Rifle Coffee Company. Really an awesome company. They're doing 25% off on all their products, as well as your first month in the coffee club. So they do a really cool program. It's kind of a subscription program similar to Champions Club, but with coffee. And you can kind of pick which type of coffees that you like, don't like. Really a great deal if you want to try some different stuff out. So head on over there, check them out. And like I said, 25% off your first month in their coffee club, or just if you want to go buy some coffee, you can do that as well. Next up, it's kind of a froggy month for us, so we decided to throw in a frog discount on there. So from Duckett Baits, they're going to be given 50% off on their Sneaky Evo frogs on their website. So great deal. That's a sweet frog. I know it's kind of just starting to blow up in the market. A frog that not a ton of people had heard about before, but I was talking with the guys at Duckett and they were like, man, we can't keep these things in stock in the fall. So go grab some before they run out. I think I checked a couple days ago and they were already sold out of like one of the colors. So go get them while they last, because they're not going to last long. And last but not least, you're going to need a new rod to throw those frogs on, right? So 20% off from Arc Rods coming your way. Obviously, Arc does more than just rods now. They've got some sweet crankbaits that you all have actually seen in the box, some top waters, and just a little bit of everything. So 20% off at Arc Rods, except for their products that are already on clearance. So pretty great deal. Make sure to go check it out, even if you're not a subscriber. So we've got a couple pros that are going to be hopping on the call with us here in a couple of minutes. But before that, I'm going to talk with you all about a couple of different baits in the box. So to start out, we've got the Yosari 3DB Pencil. It's a pretty sweet bait. Let me get it out of the package here. The cool technology that they put into this bait. So as you can see, it's kind of got a real reflective, almost a mirror finish there on the body. And then that big rattle there in the back. It's going to make some noise, especially when you're walking that bait back and forth. So super easy bait to walk, super easy bait to use. And I think it's a good profile. I mean, not a lot of our bait fish are huge this time of year. September's kind of the time that you're going to want to be throwing a little bit smaller of a bait compared to what you would be throwing in the spring or like early winter. So great size on this guy here. It's got that 3D finish as well as that waved ribbed body or bottom of the bait. And what that does is it just kind of reflects the light a little bit differently and gives that bait a little bit more of a lifelike look and feel in the water. So this is going to be one, I mean, we are here. Topwater season is here for some of us, and for others, it's like right on the cusp of it. So this is going to be one that I think a lot of you are going to have a lot of fun with. Super sharp hooks, great split rings, great everything about this bait. They didn't go cheap on any of it. So this is going to be a fun one for you guys to get out there and throw. I mean, look at that reflection on that thing. It's sweet when you just barely tilt it back and forth. So super cool bait. Excited about that one. Next up on the list, we will go to the first frog of this month's box. I know Duckett's got the discount on their frogs, but we've got 2 frogs or toads, well, frog imitators in the box this month. And the first one is going to be the toad from Googan Baits. This guy is pretty sweet. This is the fire crawl color that I have here. And, originally I was thinking fire crawl on a toad. That's a little weird, right? But whenever I pull this thing out of the package, I mean, you can fish this bait on either side, not over the top orange or red or anything like that. So I think that it's still going to be a great imitator here in these fall months. Go ahead and split those tails up. Really very well. If I can show you guys, the ribs there on those tails are really pretty exaggerated. So it's going to be kicking through the water really easily, easier than some of your other frogs out there on the market. It's got that hook slot there in the bottom, as well as a little slot there on top. I don't know if y'all can see that too well, to keep your hook point hidden. So if you're winding this thing through some grass, just some muck, anything and everything, or even around timber, that hook point is going to stay hidden there, so you're not going to get hung up, have grass all over your bait, whatever it may be. So really kind of a harder body on the head. I really like what Googan did with this. Kind of a harder front section of the bait here, but then once you come down the bait, these legs are pretty soft. So I don't think with those big flanges on the legs that you're going to have any problem getting this thing to kick super easy. And the last thing on this bait that I really like is those flanges kind of that come off the side of the bait there. So what Googan's saying that's going to do is it's going to keep your bait slowed down. It's going to just create more drag. I know there's a lot of frogs that it seems like they just kind of want to skim across the top of the water. But with this toad, it is going to really kind of create enough drag to where you can slow that bait down and wind it and really get those legs just to kick nice and slow. So kind of different from the rest of the frogs out there on the market. I like how unique they were with this one. So I think it's going to be a bass catching machine here in September, October, through these fall months when the frog bite really gets hot. Last but not least, from me at least, we've got the Castaic 3.5 square bill. And this one here is in the Tennessee shad color. We've got a whole bunch of different colors going out this month, but this is just happened to be the one that I got. First thing I noticed was crazy loud rattles in this bait. So if you're fishing muddy water, lower light conditions, whatever it may be, these fish are going to hear this bait from a mile away. And I know Castaic talked about that a little bit in their description of the bait whenever I was reading that. But really kind of a cool bait, a little bit different than some of your other square bills out there on the market. So it's got kind of a prolonged square bill there on it. It is the 3.5 size, so it's a little bit bigger than a lot of the other baits on the market. And I kind of like what they did here behind the gill plate with that little cut out there. Super realistic. Got the 3D finished eyes on it. Good paint jobs on them too. I didn't really see any of the different colors that I didn't like. Like I said, we've got a bunch that are coming out. It's got those katana hooks on it, which I really love the shape of that hook. You can kind of see the hook point there is pointed in just a little bit. And I really think once that fish grabs on and gets that hook in his mouth, he's not going to be able to throw this bait. I mean, this is a 3/4 ounce bait, so it is a little bit heavier, gives that fish more leverage. But with those katana hooks on there and the premium swivels that they've got on there, you're not going to have many fish throw this bait once you catch them. So excited for this one. Square bill is kind of a staple this time of year. Once again, it's not a huge like swim bait or anything like that. I know it's a 3.5, but I mean, not a huge profile compared to a lot of the other baits that we've been throwing all summer. So this is going to be good for that smaller shad imitator, especially up there once those bass start to move shallow. So I'm excited about this one. I think 3 to 5 foot diver, so typical square bill depth on this bait. But I'm excited to get out there and throw it. So you've heard about 2 topwaters and 1 subsurface bait from me. But now it's time to head on over to Bass Fishing Millionaire from Russellville, Arkansas, originally from the West Coast, but now living in Russellville, Arkansas. Fred Roumbanis is going to talk to us about his frog that he has. So I don't want to show it, talk about it too much, but let's head on over there to that call with Fred. So let's head that way. All right, Fred. Well, how's it going?
Hey, doing great. Thank you.
Good to hear, man. We're happy to have you on here to talk a little bit with us about this frog. Obviously, it's got your name on it, so you're the one we want to hear from about it. So tell us a little bit about it. This thing is kind of a little bit different than a lot of the other frogs out there on the market. There's some unique features on there. So talk us through it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I grew up frog fishing out west and everything, so frog fishing's always been a passion. And to get the opportunity to finally design and create my own frog, did this several years ago with Stanford Baits, and we did it with an original frog. Well, we came out with this poppin' frog just recently, and that's what you guys are going to get in the packages in this year's or this next month champion box. This frog is a poppin' frog. So you think poppin' frog, you're thinking loud, explosive frog. Actually, the poppin' version of my Boom Boom frog is more of a subtle frog. This is a frog you're going to want to throw, skip under laydowns around boat docks, real open water scenarios. It walks really, really easy. Every time you twitch that rod with the braid, it's going to do a full 180. We designed it like that so it walks real easy. The mouth on it, if you notice the mouth, is a little bit different than just a standard poppin' frog. It's actually that of like a pencil popper. So it really sprays water. So what you want to do is get used to walking it, but making it spray that water. And it's not going to be real loud and noisy, but it's going to spray that water subtly. And that will trigger a lot of bites. If you notice the back of the frog, I mean, obviously that's the first thing you notice when you see this. It's got a little patch of frog fur. It's basically the loop part of Velcro. And the bass's teeth act as the hook part. So if you get that blow up, especially in open water scenario, you may not, notice sometimes they suck it under. They have a hard time blowing it back out. So it gets caught in their teeth. It allows for better hookup. So you get a better hookup ratio. We placed it strategically in a spot where it doesn't impede with the hooks. It allows it to collapse, and you hook them really good every time. So having that little feature on there, it's a really cool, neat deal. The legs are spread out, so legs really kind of stay apart as it's walking back and forth, create that commotion on the surface. And typically I'll throw a frog on 50 to 60 pound braided line. Personally, with this frog, I like to go with 50 pound. Sometimes I'll even downsize to 40 if I'm just really trying to finesse it with a little bit lighter action rod. But if you go 50 pound, you're not going to go wrong. So 50 pound braided line, yeah, just throw it, tie it on. I like a 7 to 7.5 foot medium heavy rod. Sometimes I'll go heavier, but with this frog, you really want that medium heavy because it's going to be more of that open water. We're not throwing this over heavy, thick vegetation. We're throwing this around cover. And yeah.
So boat docks, things like that, kind of.
Boat docks, yes. This is the ultimate for skipping up under boat docks.
Awesome, man. Tell me about this eye on the bottom. I don't know.
Yeah, so
obviously
a frog, we think it's got to look like a frog. Well, in most cases, when I'm throwing a frog, I'm not throwing it to mimic a frog. I'm mimicking a bait fish, a crawfish, something different, sometimes even birds. But having that eye, it's just a trigger mechanism. It gives it a different look. From a fish's point of view, it could look like an injured bait fish on the surface. So
that's kind of what I was thinking is, they're going to look up, and obviously this is the part of the frog that the bass are going to see.
Right.
And so I thought that was a cool little feature that you had on there.
Yeah. And the other thing is you'll notice the harness on here, it's extra heavy. This is where you tie your line. The reason we did it heavy on the front, and then we have the weight in the back, is when you walk this thing and kill it, it's going to actually teeter-totter. So it's going to hop a little extra on you. So as you're walking it back and forth and spraying water, it'll give it a little extra action.
Awesome, man. Well, I know you've talked a lot about walking this frog. And one thing that I do personally, and I think a lot of other people do with frogs, is when you trim up the legs, maybe trim one side a little bit shorter than the other to kind of get that action going a little easier. Is that something that you typically do to modify yours?
Yeah, you don't really have to with this frog, but I will tell you, if you're fishing small proximity areas, tight little pockets, I do trim up just to make the bait smaller profile. But yeah, this one will walk. We don't add a whole lot of legs to it, so it's not going to, slow it down on the walking action. You know, a lot of frogs will just have too much leg, so you do have to cut one off, offset it just to use the other amount to help walk that frog. You don't need to worry about that with this one. It's just, it's thinned out perfect.
Yeah, it seems like, take it out of the package and it's ready to go. You don't have
It
to
really
do too
is.
much to
And
this
we've got
thing.
real sharp mustad hooks on there. I mean, heck, you just tie it on and go.
Awesome, Fred. Well, I appreciate you hopping on here talking with us a little bit about this thing. I'm excited to throw it. I've not thrown this frog ever before, so I might have to get one for myself and take it out and see how this thing works. But perfect for somebody like me. I don't have a lot of grass to fish around here, but to have a frog that kind of excels in open water, that's something that, for me personally, I'm excited about, and I think the subscribers will be too.
Awesome. Hey, and if you guys go out there and catch fish on it and post pictures on social media, tag me and I'll reshare them. So just be sure to tag me.
Awesome, Fred. Well, thanks again, and have a good one.
Thank you.
Alrighty, guys. Great hearing from Fred about that boom boom frog. I'm excited to throw it. So next up from Mitchie, Tennessee, we've got a record holding guy who's going to talk to us about the second Castaic bait in the box. Racked up, 101 pounds at the FLW event on Kentucky Lake, which was, I think, the heaviest weight for a 4-day event. Crazy stuff. So without further ado, let's head on over to Jason Lambert. Like I said, Mitchie, Tennessee, going to be talking with us about the second Castaic bait in this month's box. So, Jason, how's it going?
Good, man. How are you guys? Just hanging out here on the Tennessee riverbank, waiting to drive to Minnesota here for long for the last BPT. So a few more days before we got to go on a 16-hour trek.
Well, enjoy it while you can. I know it's the last event of the season, but we're happy to have you on here to talk with us a little bit about this Castaic Atlas spinnerbait that we've got going out in the box.
You know, Castaic has been known for years and years and years as, the original swim bait company. And Jay and those guys have done a lot of different things with some hard baits and then with the spinnerbait too. And, this spinnerbait actually started years ago, back in the days of our Bass Doctor show we were doing through Trophy Technologies and with a combination with Boyd Duckett and the Duckett lures back in the day. And Boyd and I actually built that spinnerbait, or I guess I ain't going to take the credit for it. Actually, Boyd designed that spinnerbait and, did a couple little things different on it. He kind of made, a lot of people want the big giant blades on the spinnerbait. And, it does still have, a number 5 and a number 3 a willow leaf. And, it's big enough, but it's not overbearing. And, so, Castaic sells it a little bit as a finesse type spinnerbait. And I guess it's because, it's a tighter skirt and it's a little bit shorter skirt with a trailer on it. But it's a little bit smaller blade. It's a lighter blade and it's got a lot better action to it. And, a lot of spinnerbaits you see are just old round ball head spinnerbaits, and they actually put like a swim bait style head on this spinnerbait, and it gives it a little different wobble action in the water. So it just runs a little different. And, obviously our katana hook is all the Castaic stuff, and it's just a super sharp cutting edge hook. So, I mean, it's a good all around spinnerbait. And obviously this time of the year coming into fall, September, October, and pretty much anywhere in the country, you got the shad making a migration back, and it's never a bad thing to have a spinnerbait on the front deck this time of year.
Most definitely. One other feature that I really liked about it personally was those eyes on it. They looked, I don't know how well I'll be able to show them off there, but they had a real realistic look to them. And like you were saying, it is kind of a great finesse spinnerbait, not super heavy blades on it or anything like that, and not super big. With this one here that I've got, I went ahead and put one of the trailers on it that we've got also coming in the box. Obviously you can do it either way, but tell us a little bit about like where you're specifically going to pick this up like in the fall, and what you're going to target with it.
Obviously a spinnerbait, a lot of the river guys that get these boxes, you guys know, if you're fishing in a river, you better have a spinnerbait in your hand. But, for us, like a reservoir fishery, especially if there's any grass, I mean, a spinnerbait on grass edges, this one comes in a 1/2 ounce or 3/8 ounce, so you can fish it. The outside edges, you can take a little 3/8 and get on top of the grass and burn it. In the fall at home, especially at Pickwick, in the past, we've kind of fished a spinnerbait a lot like a weight bait. You throw it and burn it on top, especially when you get schooling fish. And a a lot of those fish don't want to come up, you know, and eat at top water, especially if they get a little pressure to them. And you can actually take that spinnerbait and, you know, just reel it pretty fast, just under, almost waking the surface, you know, just underneath the surface. And when these fall fish start that feeding frenzy, you know, chasing shad, eating bait in the fall, it's, you know, those blades are, you know, a lot of times they're eating little bitty shad, you know, 2-3 inch, you know, even some tiny shad in the fall. And I think it's just a reaction to the blade flashing. You know, the skirt obviously is there too, but I think a lot of it's just the, you know, the reaction to the bait of the blade itself in the fall. But, you know, any kind of structure, it's a good thing about spinnerbait fishing. You can fish it, you know, across brush piles, through brush piles, you know, even the half ounce, you can get out 10, 12 feet of water and fish offshore brush with it. There's just a lot of different applications for a spinnerbait in the fall, in the spring, you know, even sometimes in the summertime, depending on where you're at. I mean, obviously, you know, our temperatures in the summertime down here don't usually bode well for spinnerbait fishing in 6 feet of water or less. But, you know, fall fishing is definitely a tool.
For sure. So before we wrap things up, I know a spinnerbait's kind of a bait similar to a buzzbait in a way where a lot of people will find different tweaks to modify theirs, trying to make it stand out. Anything that you'd be willing to share that you do a little bit different, or you just throw them out of the package?
You know, for the most part, I just throw it out of the package, depending on, you know, size, 3/8 or half ounce. But I absolutely will never throw a spinnerbait without putting a trailer hook on the back of it. I mean, there's several different ways of doing that. I mean, there's a couple companies that make one with a little, you know, a little braid loop on it that actually I like better or more expensive, but I like the braid leader on the back of it. It just gives that hook a little more play when you hook a fish back there. And, you know, standard traditional spinnerbait trailer hook is fine, but I think, you know, it's kind of rigid on when you got a hook to a hook, and I think you may lose some fish on it sometimes. But other than, you know, maybe trimming the skirt, depending on whether I'm grass fishing or brush fishing or whatever, I may trim the skirt up a little bit, you know, based on what size, you know, trailer I put behind it. You know, typically, honestly, about all I ever throw for a trailer on one's just a grub, you know, just like a twin tail grub. But I just absolutely will not throw one without putting a trailer hook on it. And you will get hung a little bit more in wood with a trailer hook. But I think the positives of putting a trailer hook on a spinnerbait are way greater than the negatives. And I mean, if you lose one every now and then, you know, a spinnerbait because you hung it on a brush pile in 12 feet of water, then that's just life. But, you know, I'd rather lose a spinnerbait as a 5-pounder. So I always throw a trailer hook.
Awesome, man. Well, we appreciate the tip. We'll let you get out, go fishing before you get back on the road again for your final event. But like I said, thanks again. And I think this is going to be a great bait for a lot of our subscribers in the fall.
Well, Drew, enjoyed it, man. Anytime. Thanks.
Thanks, Jason. All right, guys. Great hearing from Jason about this spinnerbait here from Castaic. Speaking of that spinnerbait, this little guy that's hanging off the back is what we're going to hear about next. So joining us from Port Orange, Florida, we've got Tackle Warehouse Pro Circuit Pro, Tyler Woolcott, hopping on the call to talk with us a little bit about this 13 Fishing the Jerk that's going to be in the box. So Tyler, how you doing, man?
Good, buddy. How you doing?
I can't complain, and happy to have you on here. Talk with us a little bit about this 13 Fishing the Jerk that we've got going out in this month's box.
Heck yeah, this is definitely a cool bait. One of my favorite baits to use for a couple different things. We'll get into that, but yeah, happy to be on here again.
Yeah, man. So tell us a little bit about it. I know it's kind of, when you read the description online, they are kind of advertising this bait as a soft jerk bait, like a fluke style bait almost. But to me, this seems like the perfect jig trailer, or swim jig trailer, spinnerbait trailer. So tell us kind of how you like to use the bait and whatnot. We'll go from there.
Yeah, so it definitely is a cool little fluke style bait if you want to use it as that. But one thing that I like to do with it all over the country, whether we're down here in Florida where I'm at right now, or up north, or even somewhere in the middle of the country, I like to use that bait right there, the trailer, like you were saying. A few different ways. My favorite way to use it is actually on a chatterbait. When you want a little bit subtle of a tail action, that thing just has those twin tails and they kick really good, but it's still not super, you know, they don't kick super hard. So if you want something a little bit more subtle, those two little tails are good. But what I do with it for a chatterbait trailer, since it's a little bit longer of a bait, I cut about 1 inch of the nose off of it and slip it on up there. Awesome chatterbait trailer. Like you said, it's awesome little trailer for a spinnerbait, and it's also a good trailer for a swim jig if you want something a little bit more subtle for that too. Yep, there you go, right there.
Yeah, this is actually the spinnerbait that we've also got coming in this box. So I thought they paired really well together.
Like, yeah, perfect match.
So just kind of a little kicking action to it, nothing too much, I'm guessing.
Yeah, so it's not a bait that's going to kick super hard, like I was saying. It's a little bit more subtle, but sometimes that's what the fish want. You know, they see a lot of these big trailers that have a lot of action, and sometimes they just don't want to commit to something that kicks that hard. So putting that bait right there on the back of a chatterbait or a swim jig or a spinnerbait sometimes will pick you up some pretty key bites.
Man, and yeah, tons of awesome colors in this. I think they have 15 different colors, and we've got a little bit of everything going to the subscribers. I think we've got at least 10 of the 15 colors for the guys this month. So I'm excited about it. This one here, I've got some glitter bomb.
That's my favorite color.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking, is this would be the one that I would throw. Kind of imitates a little bit of everything. So really cool bait. I've got, it's got the hook slot there in the belly as well, if you did want to rig it, weightless on a fluke, or like a fluke, not on a fluke. So super versatile bait for sure. So we appreciate you hopping on here, telling us a little bit about it. I'm excited to throw it myself, and I think the subscribers are too.
Yeah, man. I hope they put that thing on the back of, like you said, on a trailer or like a fluke, and catch some big fish with it. It also has that scent that 13 Fishing is known for. So maybe that'll draw a couple of them big girls in.
It's strong too. So,
yeah.
Thanks again, Tyler, and good luck fishing.
See y'all.
Alrighty, folks. Well, that's going to do it for the baits in this month's box. I thought it was a pretty good lineup. I want to hear what you all have to think. Tell me what your favorite was, what your least favorite was, what you would like to see in a September box, as well as what you think should be in our October box. I'm excited for that October box. It's right around the corner, and it's going to be filled with some more classic fall fishing baits. Last thing that we've got to cover before we head out for the month is going to be the real big giveaway reel this month, which is the Lose Super Duty Wide Speed Spool. This is a $200 reel, and we're giving away 10 of them. So cross your fingers. I hope you're the winner of one of these. We do random number generators, so I don't know if it's going to be new folks that sign up just to try to get in on this reel giveaway, or if it's going to be folks that have been with us for a while. Doesn't matter. Get signed up today. Worst case, we're at least going to send you some great baits every single month. So get signed up, and hope that you can win one of these guys. This is a sweet reel. So I can't win one, unfortunately. I wish I could, but you all can. So get signed up. We will see you all again in October with another sweet lineup of baits. Like I said, comment down below. Let me know what you all want to see in that October box, and we will see you then. Tight lines, guys.